Lewis Herms, and this is the spot where we question everything and leave no stone or conspiracy unturned. From ancient mysteries to modern day head scratchers, we're here to have a laugh, blow some minds, and maybe, just maybe, uncover the truth. So grab your tinfoil hat and let's get curious. Well, now that's a beautiful song by Eric Clapton. It's so good to be here, folks. Please do me a favor and like, share, and follow. We know sometimes, especially on Rumble, we get unfollowed. We're not quite sure how that happens, but if you could hook us up and give us a follow, we'd appreciate it. Currently, I'm probably 30,000 feet in the air, so today is a recording, but an amazing one. What we're going to be playing today is we're going to be playing the full 50-minute film Hurricane Helene for you, but we're going to give you an opportunity if in live chat to chat or comment on this. First, let's please recognize our sponsor, Verity Metals, veritymetals.com. This is Matt Geiger, a wonderful dude. I spent a lot of time with him, a lot of character, and if you really truly are interested in even just learning about precious metals, you should give him a call at 480-717-9081, 480-717-9081. Because Matt will not only take care of you, but he'll give you the information that you need. Silver, gold, whatever it is, if you need to pull it from an IRA or get, which he likes a lot, put silver coins right in your hands because it's actual currency. He's the guy to talk to. And I can tell you, I've vetted many companies, and his fees seem to be sometimes a third of what the other fees are, which if you're going to put it into metals, you don't want to be raked over the coals. So go to veritymetals.com or call Matt directly. So let's get started on Hurricane Helene. I'll be loving to read your comments when I land on the ground and see what's going on. So take care, and I hope you enjoy.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself.
You are listening to WFMA 96.2 Appalachian Radio. Looks like a tropical storm named Helene is brewing south of Cuba, heading towards Cancun. Nothing to worry about here, though, but we will keep an eye on things for you right here on WFMA 96.2.
The dogs say goodnight, and I think to myself.
It's our 5 p.m. weather update on Appalachian Radio, WFMA 96.2, where banjos rule and Beyonce drools. So, Tropical Storm Helene leaving Cancun has now been upgraded, folks, to a Category 1 hurricane. This is one of the fastest moving hurricanes on record. The current predicted path, according to most models, has it tracking across Florida, starting south of Tampa, and most likely traveling through Orlando, with the outer bands hitting Georgia and then heading out to the Atlantic Ocean to die out.
I hear babies cry.
Alrighty then, it's Thursday, September 26th, and you're listening to The Growl Morning Radio Show on WFMA 96.2. Well, it's time to pucker up, folks. Overnight, it seems Hurricane Helene has turned north and now is rated a Cat 4 hurricane. The new track seems to be heading straight for the panhandle of Florida. The storm is flying, so based on its extraordinary speed and trajectory, we should see heavy rains and winds here in the mountains on Friday, although it should start to die out over land shortly thereafter.
Ooh, yeah.
Well, my fellow insomniacs, it's just about midnight now, heading into Friday, and Hurricane Helene is pounding the Gulf side of Florida with reports of massive damage due to storm surges of up to 12 feet in some areas. The experts are estimating Helene will be downgraded soon to a tropical storm, but warnings persist that based on the record rainfall predicted, the speed of the storm, and the wide swath this storm covers, not to mention reports of tornadoes on the outer bands, that it would be wise to batten down the hatches. At this moment, folks, there are no signs of an evacuation order, but stay safe. With that said, let's get into the other news. Now on
We had no idea, couldn't even begin to fathom the amount of damage that had been caused prior. And so a lot of that issue was because we didn't have communication with a lot of people. Prior to this, as you learned earlier, a lot of the areas on the North Carolina side of the mountain had lost their communication prior to the floods, the biggest part of the storm, the rain. And you can argue what caused those comms to go out, but the bottom line is nobody got any warning. They didn't have a chance. They never got those warnings.
If that water ripped through a valley or a draw and you had about 100 houses in there and the report to evac didn't get out on time,
Right.
or they were asleep already, how would people know to evac?
So what happened was there was no cell phone service. So this happened between Thursday night and Friday morning, with the majority of it coming early Friday morning. We had flash flooding like a couple days before, and then the actual hurricane just poured down. I think, what was it, 30 inches on Mount Mitchell?
I've heard 30 plus inches
So it
on Mount
just
Mitchell.
rushed
And
off that mountain.
that feeds the three
And-
rivers. It feeds into the Novachucky River, goes into Irwin.
Yeah.
So when all three rivers are just extremely flooded and washing,
Yeah.
it's just
But there was
chaos.
there was absolutely no cell phone service at all anywhere in the county, anywhere in 3 counties.
Oh God, come back home. This crazy world is filled with liars and abusers.
There was extraordinary tornado activity which flattened wide areas of forest. The record rainfall was devastating, and the timing of the dam releases were suspect at best. The aftermath in western North Carolina and eastern Tennessee looked like absolute war zones. The damage and death caused by Hurricane Helene will be shown to be historically unprecedented. It's unnatural. Previous to Helene, the largest natural disaster in U.S. history was the Great Galveston Hurricane of 1900, which took between 6,000 and 12,000 lives. Is it possible that the 2024 Hurricane Helene is the largest weather disaster in terms of total deaths on record? If so, why would this fact be hidden from the public? A few days after the storm passed, our team canceled several scheduled events and headed towards North Carolina to see how we could assist in rescue and support. Unfortunately, many roads were completely impassable, so we decided to head to the Gulf Coast of Florida to help our friends who were already boots on the ground making a difference. After a few days in Florida, we started working closely with rescuers and coordinators in North Carolina to do whatever we could to help, considering that we lived outside the affected areas. Through coordinating and driving donations, I built relationships with boots on the ground volunteers. In turn, I received several requests to tell the stories of these victims and heroes in the more mountainous regions. They felt that they were being completely ignored and often gaslit by several entities. Therefore, a few of us from our team decided to get boots on the ground in western North Carolina to help and embed ourselves with the rescue and recovery teams, meet the people affected, and tell the truth with an authentic grassroots perspective. What we quickly learned was enlightening, to say the least. In general, the residents in these areas have a special, rugged character about them. Many have seen severe weather situations before and in most cases would have chosen to stay in their modest homes and wait it out. Unfortunately, without getting the emergency evacuation order, they never had a chance to make an informed decision. We noticed after meeting the incident commander, Zach McFarland, and several locals that the mainstream media and many social media influencers as a whole were not telling the true story. It seemed every story became politicized or sensationalized for various agendas. What was heartening is that we were blessed in discovering the American spirit to be alive and well. People of all backgrounds and political affiliations put their differences aside and cared about one thing: working together to get the job done, whatever that job was. Now, warning, we are not intentionally telling the story with a political tilt. Although the truth is so obvious after investigating with boots on the ground and an open mind, that light will shine where it is needed. Whether it triggers you politically or spiritually, positively or negatively is not our concern. Our goal was to be authentic regardless of what was revealed.
We received a little over 2 years worth of rainfall in less than 24 hours. Prior to that, 3 weeks prior to that, we were in a drought zone, and then it began to rain every day, a little more, until we got to the point where we were either at or near flood stage in a lot of these counties, a lot of these areas. By the time the storm hit, we were actually inundated already, and then we had the flooding, which the storm by itself would have been enough, but with everything being inundated, you had the dry, washed out vegetation from the stuff that had already died. And then, of course, everything had gotten mud. So we were already experiencing landslides and things of that nature. So when the storm actually hit and the deluge that it hit, it overwhelmed, obviously, not just the people on the ground in these areas that are hardest hit, but the river system itself. It just wasn't designed to handle that much water. Even if we were at half capacity or less, we wouldn't have been able to hold the amount that we got, period. By the time it got to us, we've seen areas rise 15, 20, 30 feet deep in less than 10, 15 minutes. I mean, it was a surge, but that surge didn't just come and go. That surge came and maintained for 4.5 hours.
So as we work these recovery sites, the devastation areas are mainly along the riverbeds, and they are massive. The amount of water that was released from the dams and Helene itself kind of catapulted everything into making it a much bigger problem. The terrain alone also plays a big factor in that. Being a mountainous region, you have extra debris and that water building up speed and power as it grows downhill, going into some of the lower lying areas, and once it washes things out, it hits with quite a big bit of force, like that of a freight train. So when you're seeing these debris fields, they're massive, they're sprawled out, and they're very difficult to search because they're very compacted due to the force of the water.
When we put everything together initially, we knew there was going to be a cry for help, obviously. We had no idea the extent that was going to be. We had no idea how long it was going to go for. We had no idea that the waters were going to be 50, 60 feet in some areas. We had no clue what we were up against, and rightfully so. Nothing like this has ever happened.
These people actually live out in the mountains remote because that's what they want to do. That is their best life. And so when you go up and you see missing houses with foundation gone, you see that there's no signs of where the home went and it's relocated. I'll tell you, I talked to a vet yesterday, and he said it was supposed to be a slow release of water, and that was done, middle of the night time, and then all of a sudden chaos happened. When homes are relocated and they're thousands of feet away from their base where the foundation slab is, you absolutely know that the travesties there. We've seen and had testimonials of people that have been in their homes as it's floating, trying to get access out because they were trapped by the flood of water that was coming through their area. There's areas that are wrecked, absolutely wrecked. And we're finding pictures, we're finding clothing.
Lady came up here, asked us to go help clear their RV site, so that way they could look at getting insurance up there and everything else. We sent a gentleman out there, and he was clearing all the trees away. there's a car crushed by an RV, and he asked if they knew where the people were on the car was because he was going to pull it out, and they said, well, if there are cars there, then they were an RV, because their only other place to go would have been up the hill to our house. There's no other place around. So, you know, and they said we haven't heard from him since, and I think he had like 2 families in there at the time.
Wow.
So, you know, he hadn't heard from any of them, but we cleared out their area. There's a few other places we kind of cleared out. Found a like 40-foot mill van that I guess was on top of the ridge, got washed down that ridge and took out a bunch of houses while it was being washed down the ridge as well. So, you know, it's coming down a good 100 miles an hour, that water and pressure and everything. So if people didn't know about the evacuation, they were in their homes, you know. Yeah. There's a lot of that. So
Nobody anticipated the amount of rain that we were going to get. 2 years worth of rain in less than 24 hours, on top of the conditions we already had. So when that happened, you started seeing the sides of mountains slip off. You started seeing major thoroughfares, roadways, which you saw that today with Blue Ridge Parkway. Just sections of these only access points, in or out, being taken out. So even if you did get out, you couldn't get far.
If you look down the bank, you know, the water's even still kind of high compared to the way it's normally running, and you could see the debris in the trees. Like the water was above our heads, even being 15-20 feet above where the water is now.
Basically there's piles that they're digging in, piles of brush and debris, because the cadaver dogs are getting hits. Yep. So they know there's somebody there. But they've dug as far as 70 feet down of debris. The piles are that big. Wow. And so now we're utilizing some helicopters that we got back. And also, if you see the trees blocking it, but on that tow truck, there's a vehicle on there which is called a Sherp. That just came in yesterday. Is an amphibious vehicle, which is going to be a huge asset for us to be able to hit the riverbanks all the way out. Our dogs go in, they get the hits, they mark it, you know, and then our chainsaw teams and stuff like that, excavator teams come in and excavate it, and we're doing that as much as we can right now.
This end of the county, we have areas that were hit pretty hard. Right here where the fire department is, it's okay, but the other end of the county looks like a nuclear bomb went off. Everything's just ripped out of the ground, and you know, these roads and little communities are like miles and miles long, and there's just, you know, there used to be homes and buildings, you know, one after the other, and now it's just wiped out. There's nothing.
The water was like this deep, and I came back inside, and it went boom, and I looked, and a big old tree had just hit it. But when it was coming down, it was clipping other big trees with it. So then all these trees, they just hit, and went bam, hit the house, and boom again, it split it into pieces, and it just split down the middle. And my sister looked, and it was like a 20-foot wall of mud, dirt, everything. Oh my God. I shoved her on the bed, and she grabbed a little dog, and then the house just split apart, and we stayed on a mattress for about 5 miles and went down a river.
Rode down the river on a mattress for 5 miles.
Yeah.
You're kidding me.
We had a little bit of a house behind us, and then we ended up slamming into a rubble, you know.
The debris?
Yeah. The mattress snapped in half and slingshot me way over there. She went down, and all I had was my nightgown and and I was like scooting across trees and everything. After I looked, I'm not broken, you know.
Yeah.
And I called over, and it took me an hour to get her pulled up and the dog. Yeah. And then we spent the rest of that night hanging on. Yeah. We put plastic bags on our heads trying to stay warm and just huddled up to each other. You know,
and tried whatever was around us.
Yeah, whatever. I caught a cane floating by, then I found a bottle of water floating by.
Oh.
I mean,
2 trucks floated down the creek. The water was going about 75 miles an hour.
Gosh.
And when I was in the water, it just took my shoes right off me.
How did you eventually get rescued?
I thought I heard people talking, and I'm like, no, that was nobody. And then I'm like, it's an angel. I did, I really did, because she's the sweetest little lady. And she started hollering, and I hollered back, and she goes, stay there. So they had to go get like a bunch of men to come down there, big saws. It took them like 45 minutes cutting trees to even get to us, because they thought we were dead. Nobody thought we could survive.
A few days later, these brave sisters went back to their land to assess the damage. Unfortunately, the only thing left was a porch. Next to the steps, though, laid this Bible. Based on just what you've seen, do you think So you don't think the death report of 200 is legitimate?
It's absolutely inaccurate. I know the smell of death, and we've walked along these rivers, walked along these areas, and no, there's no way. I can tell you right now, I can hit more spots smelling decomposition of the human body to know that that's an inaccurate number.
And you've heard reports also of numbers in certain locations, is that right?
I have.
And what is that?
It's up into the thousands. Because there's people that are unaccounted for. We found a catheter with an adult diaper that we're digging at a site today to try to see where this body is, because we've dug that up and that's where our dogs are hitting. So, I mean, you know the bodies are there, you can smell them. You know, you know that I've walked past more than 200 spots in multiple areas of the state surrounding Asheville.
Yeah, one person.
And I'm one person.
From your experience, how many body count have you heard of?
It's a lot. All I can say right now without vetting the information is hundreds, and it's triple to quadruple times what you hear on the news.
Right, yeah.
And the other thing what I've heard on the news is basically they only report the deaths that are caused directly to the storm. There's so many deaths that have been indirectly to the storm. A nursing home not getting their oxygen. Somebody not getting their insulin, their medication, stuff like that, and that is huge out here.
Yeah, they say, I mean, they've been saying about 100 or so people are missing. We're talking about 1,200 people at least.
In just this area alone?
Just this area alone.
One town?
About one town.
Yes.
13 minutes outside the heart of downtown Asheville.
Unaccounted for just means that nothing's been found. You know, there's been no confirmations.
Right.
And that's really what we're trying to do out here. Is
sure.
Be able to confirm, you know, where those people are.
Right.
What would you say that your estimate of the death toll would be closer to?
Well, between Avery, Yancey, and Mitchell, we've been through all three of those counties, and when we've gone through some of these towns, we look at the population, or look up the population, try to figure out who we can find. About 50 to 60% of the houses in a lot of those areas are gone. If it was like 200 to 300 living there, or 400 to 600 living there, there's maybe 10, 15 houses left out of all of that. I'd say we're in maybe the 10,000s area, you know, at least. If all these people lost their homes, where are they? I mean, I know people have family, and not everybody lost their home. They may be too proud to go to a shelter, but everybody.
So the official count from the governor of North Carolina is, at this time, on this date, is 92 dead. What would you say about that?
Somebody needs to do some better counting. I mean, we're 3 weeks into this thing. If they weren't home and they're alive, they'd have come back. They'd have come back to check on their stuff. They would have touched base with family and friends and let them know they're okay by now.
A lot of suicides, a lot of death, and whatever mainstream is telling you is bullshit.
I want to go into that because so what we're hearing from the federal government and the mainstream media is 200 deaths total in Hurricane Helene. That's the number, that's the official number. We're hearing from the North Carolina governor, I believe 95 as of a few days ago. So when we talk to boots on the ground, we're getting a completely different message. You're boots on the ground. What have you been seeing in regards to death and missing?
In the first week, very initial totals, rough estimates we put together were over 1,000. And that was just in the first couple of days when we started talking to people. And you take that with a grain of salt because there's a lot of speculation. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of speculation. And then there's a lot of this and that and misinformation going around. They started doing independent research, which is the best thing that could possibly happen. Mm-hmm. Everybody's talking to everybody. And when they do that, we started getting real numbers. We started getting realistic data. And then we started getting confirmed data and stuff that we could back up and say, okay, I'm safe to say there's X hundred dead in this town. There's X hundred missing in this town. And we started peeling those numbers together. And by the end of the first week within the first 8 days, we had surpassed 6,000. By the end of the second week, we were well surpassed 10,000. We're 3 weeks in, and in 3 counties that I know of, in addition to some of these other pockmarked areas, I'm comfortable to say it's over 15,000. And we're not talking about Asheville. Asheville's its own beast. That's its own thing altogether. So Asheville and Swannanoa.
a lot of people that have done this for years. We've had cadaver dogs, professionals in, and they've been out in the field, and they weren't allowed to recover, but they had a lot of hits. And if you look at these riverbanks, it's just, they flagged where the hits were, and it's just flag after flag after flag after flag after flag. And, you know, when you have water that hits the sides of these mountains at, in some areas 100 feet, and you have boulders come off the mountains, and you have mountaintops slide off, and you have homes and buildings in that churning water with trucks and cars and trailers and freezers and refrigerators and things like that, all churning with people, you know, you don't always find identifiable. Just imagine putting an ice cube in a blender with strawberry and see what happens.
I personally have not seen any support from the government. We hear tales that they're out there, but on the ground level, on the day-to-day operations side, we don't feel much help from government at all, especially from the federal side.
I mean, I can't say that I've seen any agencies working as far as like debris removal
Right.
or that sort of thing. There's definitely a lot of outreach with catastrophe, you know, help and that kind of stuff, but those seem more like private,
Right. Contractor.
privately
Yeah.
run things, right? Nothing. I mean, I haven't hardly seen a lot of Red Cross really at all.
Sure.
You know, I know Verizon and Sprint, they sent some trucks around to try to get people cell service and stuff,
But technically, no one is here assisting with this recovery or anything.
no,
Just locals and
this
people
is
out of
all
state.
just locals, yeah.
Basically, you go up this river and right over there, that's where I live.
Okay.
Yeah, I live along the Swannanoa River. I am working to bring my neighbors home.
And have you seen any outside influences, Red Cross, FEMA, anyone to come in and assist with any search, recovery, search, rescue?
No, this is all just everyday people that live here, people that come from other states. That's who's been coming to help bring people home.
I have not been a part of any government entities that has wanted to assist efforts. That being said, I have not come across FEMA. The first Red Cross vans I've seen was coming out of Asheville today and coming to this site to meet you. And I saw 7 of their vans, but that's the first time I've seen them. And I have been all the way up to Spruce Pine, to Banner Elk, to Yancey County, and down here in Swannanoa. I have not encountered any FEMA.
Haven't encountered any, and you've been all over the place.
We have been all over. We have surrounded Asheville in assisting those in need.
They're doing great with the 101st active duty also came to help us. If you have been here a couple days ago, when they come, they line up. They're coming all the way down. Come get orders and they go up. It's been absolutely amazing.
So you could hear that the National Guard here is actually helping, which is good news. We got to tell the story. Okay.
Exactly. In fact, we were able to release a bit on the Blaze that let us, you know, tell the real story of how the National Guard's been helping us. And they actually extended their orders. Now we have them for longer. So we are very grateful. Took a little bit with the communication, make sure we got in, made sure we reached out to them first before they reached out to us, made the connection, said, hey, we're here to help. And, you know, communication is key with us for sure. But I would just like to reiterate it again. A lot of the stuff around, let's put it this way, FEMA and the Guard, the National Guard, 2 very different entities and have literally worked completely differently. Obviously, we have our run-ins with FEMA. Everybody has. We've been able to work through that. We've been able to work with them as much as we can. The National Guard, on the other hand, has been absolutely extremely helpful.
And that's where we start getting into things like Red Cross, Samaritan's Purse. And I hate to put those 2 names together because they're opposite sides of the fence.
Right, they are.
Samaritan's Purse, I will tell you, has been absolutely phenomenal
we hear
through this entire event.
We hear the same.
I've seen them in multiple locations. They're the first boots on the ground we saw from any type of organized whatever. They have been phenomenal. Red Cross, exact opposite. Saw them twice and both of them are a scam. We're hearing things from FEMA like, oh, go to our website, go on our app, check this out. They got great resources. How the hell are you going to do that if you haven't had power for 3 weeks, if you're not sucked into whatever it is, and if you still have a phone? Okay, let alone your car's gone, your house is gone, your roads are gone, you don't even have access to the things you need. So that in and of itself is a joke. The people I talked to that applied for the immediate $750 assistance thing, that's an absolute joke. Literally everyone I've talked to has been denied. Now the other thing we're hearing is somebody's going to help us. You heard this in the conversation today. Somebody's going to help us with this and somebody's going to help us with that, but the delay is they can't release the funds for FEMA reimbursement because they got to write legislation for this in order to do that because this hasn't been done before and done. We have contingency plans in the government for a zombie apocalypse, and we don't have a contingency plan for a hurricane hitting the mountains. The bottom line is the government has showed us flat out they're not on our side, so why trust anything else they say? After about the 4th day, we realized we're all we got. Like, there's nobody coming. And so that mindset set in real quick of, not only are we not getting saved, they've just proven whose side they're on, and it isn't ours. I don't care whose side they are on, it's not ours. They're against us.
Our team approached this venture with an open mind and a commitment to find the truth. Even though we heard stories of FEMA obstructing, taking property, lying, and several other accusations, we were open to it not being true. Unfortunately, virtually every accusation we investigated had proven out to be true. What we have determined is FEMA has set up a few higher profile locations, and the reports from those are not positive, but in the vast number of cases, they are nowhere to be found. It almost seems like they are more interested in a photo opportunity than doing good work. As of the filming of this documentary, about 3.5 weeks after the event, we had conducted dozens of interviews and only one person had received a $750 FEMA check. Many others were denied and or found it much too hard to fill out the paperwork, as many still don't have phones to access the FEMA forms. You would think FEMA would get to the affected areas with pen and paperwork to help these folks, but it doesn't seem to be their priority. Many FEMA workers are staying in cushy hotel rooms, while displaced citizens and volunteers are sleeping in tents, on cots, and a few motels. At this rate, and regardless of your political ideology, we should agree that FEMA, at minimum, should be subject to a congressional investigation, and the director should be fired. In addition, there are several reports of local sheriffs frustrated with the federal government as well. Overall, the volunteers and some law enforcement have decided to ignore the feds and do the work they refuse to do. Conspiracies. This is a very divisive topic. For those that believe everything and those that believe nothing, this one is for you. There are those that feel everything is a conspiracy and repost every tall tale as fact without looking into it. There is a vast truther community where some do their due diligence and give you the goods to prove their theory. Frankly, there are enough conspiracy facts to hang your hat on today, so why make anything up? Then you have the deniers. These people are completely programmed by the system, meaning they have massive cognitive dissonance and generally parrot a fixed narrative and refuse to do any research. The mainstream media, entertainers, educators, even some clergymen and the government are their daily influences. They tell them what to think and what to say. This is a safe place for many to live, as it doesn't bust the bubble of illusion in which they reside.
Deliberate disinformation and misinformation that has been condemned by a bipartisan coalition of local, state, and federal North Carolina officials needs to stop. It hurts the very people we are all trying to help. It discourages and makes people fearful of signing up for help. It enables scam artists, and it hurts the morale of government officials, first responders, and soldiers who are on the ground trying to help.
Once upon a time, there was a hurricane named Helene that was documented as the strongest hurricane of a season. It was a Category 4 when it hit land. It was considered the fastest moving hurricane in decades. It hit the Florida coast on September 26th. It had record-breaking winds and rain throughout North Carolina. It had the widest swath of damage ever recorded. This was actually the 1958 Hurricane Helene of the same name. Why did Hurricane Helene of 2024 have all the exact same markers as the 1958 event? It was virtually identical, according to Wikipedia's 1958 Hurricane Helene post, when compared to the current day accounting of Hurricane Helene's 2024. Interesting enough, September 26th, the date that Helene hit land, was altered on the 1958 Hurricane Helene Wikipedia page just 2 days after we reported on this anomaly. Most of it still remains. Funny that it would change suddenly after being on the page for over a decade prior. Well, that's fine. We understand the game. So we took a screenshot of the original post, including the date before it was manipulated. Fun fact, Helene 2024 is exactly to the day 66 years apart from Helene 1958. 66. With all the evidence of weather manipulation, patents, HARP, chemtrails that are now being outlawed in several states, by the way, cloud seeding, and directed energy weather devices, some in their perpetual cognitive dissonance will still believe NOAA when they say, fact check, debunking weather modification claims. No one creates or steers hurricanes. The technology does not exist. Well, NOAA, as Shakespeare once wrote, the lady doth protest too much, methinks.
We had issues where we knew this was coming, so some people ordered supplies ahead of time, and those trucks were sabotaged on the way to us, and their tires sliced, and drivers were being harassed, and then in other instances they were being turned around, being like, oh, we're good, go somewhere else, we don't need supplies in this county, da-da-da. And luckily that got squashed pretty quick. That was very short-lived. But it did create a big disruption right off the bat. And it was all through Tennessee, Kentucky, and some other areas. So it was organized. And whichever way you want to take that, I really don't care. But the bottom line is somebody intentionally did that to disrupt that supply line. So that right there shows that somebody's got evil intents, however you want to look at it, to organize something like that for people that they don't know anything about. That irritated the hell out of a lot of people. When that information started being confirmed, it was, okay, there's more to this.
As of the final edits of this film, October 31st, we have verified that the water being tested in several areas is rated completely unusable and highly toxic. In fact, when a scale should be at 1, some are rating as high as 26 on the toxicity scale.
We've had a lot of reports of semis being reloaded with donated items. But we do know that these things are going to reservations where they're not just going to the Indian community, but they're also going to these immigrant communities, which are being housed on these reservations. So once that information came to light, it changed the dynamic because it makes sense. Everybody's saying, oh, they're going to Chicago, they're going here, they're going there. Now they're coming across the border still at the same pace that they were, whether they're televising or not. Where are they going? Where do you hide millions of people? Well, you hide them in the mountains. You hide them on reservations where cameras aren't going to go, where the laws are different, where backdoor handshakes are taking place.
So in essence, you're saying that people with their hearts are giving to donation sites some semis are picking them up from the donation sites, filling them up as if they're going to go do good with them, dropping them off at reservations, and potentially illegal immigrants are the beneficiary of those donations.
That's what we're hearing, correct?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So the last few years, how far back it goes, I'm not sure, but for at least the last few recent years that I'm aware of, Asheville has been constructively fighting a lithium mine operation going into Nashville. Again, like you said, the quartz that they have down there, the mica, I've been told it's the world's largest deposit of it, to the tune of something like $830 billion worth of material under the town. We already know what's going on with China, so if they want to get their hands on anything, that's one hell of an investment. Is that motivation to take a town out? Bet your ass it is. Okay, there's a lot of money to be made. In addition to that, they're already inundating us trying to get resources and land. I mean, that's proven. They've been buying up everything. We've already seen, just since this storm hit, people are being offered, hey, we'll buy your land. Hey, we'll buy your land. It's okay. I'm involved with a government-backed program where, man, what do you want my land for? There's nothing left. My house is gone. This is gone, da-da-da-da. I've got a mortgage, a 30-year mortgage on a piece of dirt that's downriver somewhere, and it's just a square on a map now. I don't care. I'll buy it. Why the hell would anybody be that desperate to buy trashed land, and especially be government-backed? And then you've got other people that are looking to buy more than payoff for whatever your existing mortgage was back when you had a house and value on it. Why is that? So as this goes on, we're starting to hear chatter that FEMA is making comments about property purchases. Now, if that's one representative or if that's something official on the board, is yet to be verified. So
Well, I'll tell you what is
take your
verified.
speculation with that.
I'll tell you what is verified. The governor of North Carolina just said publicly,
In some areas, you just shouldn't build back. And we've been able to convince certain communities and people that buyouts are better.
So the Red Cross is pulling their shelters out of North Carolina, basically giving the survivors who have nothing left a swift kick in the teeth. Then North Carolina Child Protective Services says if you don't have a safe and secure place to take your children, we're going to take them from you. But it's not just the people in these shelters that need to be concerned. If a mental health worker comes to interview you, and you as a homeless disaster survivor pour your heart out to this mental health professional, including how hard it is to take care of your children in these times, they're going to have a solution for you. But it's not going to be one you're going to like. They're going to take your children as a ward of the state. But why does the state of North Carolina want to take these children into custody and place them in the foster care system while doing absolutely nothing for their parents, I might add? The answer is there is a massive state and federal funding that creates a huge motive to seize these children, while little to no funding is available to help their parents, especially with their housing issues.
This is a pop-up government operation in western Kentucky with security and a mobile command center. There are several dozen freezer trucks here. We have reports that someone at the beginning of the rescue operation saw a freezer truck filled with over 200 bodies. If the deaths are minimal in North Carolina, why would they need so many trucks? If you can give me a number, like percentage of we the people doing the work versus government, what would that percentage be?
Here in this fire department,
This county.
basically 100%. Now, with that being said, the National Guard did stop and offer the help, like I spoke before. They did come back one day this week, and tons, a lot of clothes have come in. And they did come in and help sort clothes out and divide those out. But they would have been here if we'd asked them more than likely on the National Guard. And as far as the rest of the government help out, we haven't. I don't think we've even been offered, have we? And not that I know of.
Okay. Fair enough.
This is, I would say, the majority of what you're seeing as far as relief goes has been private.
It is the people in the communities, and it is a genuine American effort to come together and to mobilize and to help our brothers and sisters. I mean, there is no color, there's no culture, there's no religion. It's just Americans coming together to help Americans. And with that, it's very fluid, the collaboration is tight, and it is running like a good force.
90% we are people up here helping. I've had people from every state in the U.S., so all 50 states, Canada, Puerto Rico, even had the Jordanian King's plane come in here and deliver items to us. 3 different flights come in. Hopefully you don't get mad because I said that, but you know.
All we care about the truth.
That's right. So, but you know, he was in full support and he's an ally.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of veterans that active and retired that came up through here, came through this airport, walked those hills. Guys took leave. You know, they went and called in their commander like, "Hey, we're taking leave. We're going to go up there. You know, it's our mountains, it's our neck of the woods." So they came out and helped out, and they spent 2-3 weeks outside. Multiple SAR teams in here. Guys just come rolling up with a trailer full of side-by-sides. You know, where do you need me? And we plotted on maps, and we cleared our maps. All the pink areas is within these pink areas where our people have been, pretty much. We have some areas up here that we're re-verifying because some of the guys that went up there, they checked the main roads and they couldn't get up a lot of these roads. I know there's a little big military presence here, so we got down and checked all these. I got a mule team out there right now. It's a 2-man mule team.
I'm here with Savage Freedom's Relief Operations. We've been based out of here since Saturday, which happened when Adam Smith posted on Facebook and basically said he wanted a helicopter, and they went and got his daughter, and this is how this whole thing started. And he's been a great leader, and we don't even know how this has grown to this. It's just a God thing.
Father, I thank you for this man that you have raised up in this moment, in this season, for your purposes. And I pray that you would anoint him, that things aren't done just by might or by power, but by your Spirit. So I ask that you would anoint President Donald Trump and give him a spirit of wisdom and understanding and insight as he moves to lead this nation back to greatness. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
I imagine that some people turned this film off the moment they saw President Trump. That's very, very sad. Our nation and the world has become so divided politically that we have trouble looking through an unbiased lens and judging each situation on its merits. Somehow people found it political when President Trump flew into Georgia and North Carolina and asked we the people to step up with the American spirit and help. His first intervention drove millions in donations, massive volunteer forces, and exponential attention to this tragedy. His second visit was that of support in the message he delivered from the same spot my team stood 24 hours prior. He, as we understood, knew that we cannot turn a blind eye to the recovery efforts that are ongoing. Somehow, people with an agenda also tried to twist Elon Musk's efforts of immediately bringing in Starlinks and mobile Starlinks for the rescue teams as political. They were a tremendous help in the rescue and recovery efforts. Sometimes things are purely common sense and the right thing to do. Thank you, President Trump. Thank you, Elon Musk, for doing the right thing at the right time.
Hurricane Helene hit. Upon seeing the devastation of my community, my backyard, along with other veterans, we mobilized and we eventually started putting our skills to use for the greater good of our community.
Our 8 firefighters have been over here. I think we're close to 8,000 to 10,000 deep of our own money. And the biggest thing is fuel. I'll tell you, we came up with 2 fifth wheels, and I cannot tell you how many people have taken showers or stayed in our trucks where we've all bunked up and done multiples, just in the effort to help the people in this community. So, and we filled gas tanks. People haven't had gas because they don't have a job. The site where they worked has been washed away or no longer inhabitable. And so they have no money. I literally gave a guy $100 this morning coming out because he only had, I could see him taking $5 and change out to put in his gas tank. And he's like, my wife lost her job, my business is no longer there and operational, and they're unemployed. So I don't know how they're doing at home, but it's like, what do you do? So I hand him a $100 bill, and he's like, no, I can't take it. I'm like, no, fill your tank up.
Yeah, beautiful. And so you're seeing people from all over the country flooding here to help, is that right?
Absolutely. This is just a genuine American effort when it comes to helping our own. As we had talked before, a we the people thing. We have people from different states. California had a guy fly in from Alaska and give us a water purification system, and when we tested the system on the water, we saw how undrinkable it is in certain water areas. So that's great. We have those set up in the community now, and it's a true collaboration.
I'm a Western North Carolina native. I've been working with this team since last Wednesday, so it's been about 4 or 5 days. I've seen folks all over the country, Mississippi, Florida, even as far as out west in other states that have been showing up, bringing their efforts and really trying to help us clear out and recover what we can at this point. I just know that we've got a lot of work to do. This is only scratching the surface. I've been out here 4 days since I was able to get off of my mountain and make it to where we're at here doing these search and recovery efforts. And from what I can tell, we've got a lot more work to do just to find these people.
Well, we thank you so much for what you're doing.
Thank you.
I mean, the community that's been born out of this has been beautiful. We were making something out of the tragedy.
Right.
And to see people come together from all over to come to where I live, to my home, is wonderful. And I'm so glad that all of you guys are out here.
Well, I would say if it wasn't for the community coming together and, not just people in the immediate community, there's people from all sorts of states coming in to try to help out. And if we didn't have that, who knows where we'd be today, It'd feel like the day after.
The one positive thing throughout all of this is that this is a very big factor of the American spirit. Is in times of need, we step up 100%. Every single person is capable of it. From the people who can't get away from their jobs, who live halfway across the country, donating to the people who have jumped in their cars and just want to help. They have no idea what they're doing, but they're just out here to help. Kind of reminds me being a kid on September 12th, 2001, honestly, watching these people just jump straight into action, because it's out here in our area, it's been straight up volunteers, mainly EMS, fire, military, and law enforcement veterans are out here doing the work and making things happen.
If there's anything that you can let we the people know, what would it be?
American spirit can't be broken. We're all out here for each other. We'll always continue to be out here for each other. And moving forward, I think we should all be a little more patient and understanding with one another, where we're coming from. Because when things actually get down to it, nobody hates their neighbor. We're all here. We're all in the same place. We all want what's best for one another. And that fact is never shown truer than with this event.
The beautiful revelation that we experienced was that the light was shining through the darkness, and Americans from every state put aside their ideological differences to show up and take care of business. This is a microcosm of what the future holds.
God bless the
Well, that's the impactful real world stuff that's going on in North Carolina, Western North Carolina, and in Eastern Tennessee and other places across the nation. We never got the truth. Who knows if we're ever going to get the truth from the government, but we the people are doing everything we can. Now, interesting enough, that video was recorded, I believe, just a month after the hurricane hit. Maybe even a little bit more than that. I think I might have mentioned it. I forgot. But what's important is, unfortunately, there's still people in dire need. Nobody's coming to help. Nobody's coming to help. I have a family right now, a family of 7, that living out of tents in the snow, and they don't know what else to do. So we're trying to fund and get them RVs. And speaking of helping out, we have teams, multiple teams on the ground that are constantly doing things. And I need to give a shout out to Warren at PPN. He doesn't even know I'm doing this. Every time I'm calling somebody, I hear his name pop up as he's being a warrior helping people. So Warren, I appreciate you very, very much. I just want to let everybody know you can go to hurricanehell.com, and there will be several ways that you can help out. Even in prayer would be nice. So for now, folks, God bless you and good night.
If tomorrow all the things were gone, I'd work for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife. I thank my lucky stars to be living here today,
where the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away.
And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land.
God bless the USA.
God bless the USA. Am I the only one willing to bleed? Take a bullet for being free. Screaming what the hell at my TV for telling me, yeah, you're telling me that I'm the only one willing to fight for my love of the red and white and the blue. Burning on the ground, another statue coming down in a town near you. Watching the threads of old glory come undone. Am I the only one?
One day, one day, one day, oh, one day, I hope you see the truth. This puppet show stays on because of you fools. We've been the devil way too long. I know it's fun, but get ready to pay your dues. Oh God, come back home. This crazy world is filled with liars and abusers. We need you now before we're too far gone. I hope one day they finally see the truth. God, we need you now.
'Cause there ain't no doubt